Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. So today I am going to attempt to make some chicken bone broth. I have 3 carrots, some garlic, a chicken carcass from a rotisserie chicken that I got from Ingles, and then I also went and grabbed an onion. So here I'm just taking the chicken off the bone and I'm putting it into glass containers to meal prep. So I'm just picking all the chicken off of the bones and I'm sorting it into glass bowls to meal prep for mine and Kaysen's lunches or dinner if we don't feel like cooking one night. We like to buy rotisserie chicken on the weekends just because it makes meal prep super easy and we don't have to worry about cooking a ton of chicken, and rotisserie chickens are pretty affordable for a whole chicken, so we go ahead and do that. I did try to roast a couple of chickens a few weekends in a row. This was a few months back, and it worked out pretty well. It is a long process, and sometimes we just don't have time to do that on the weekend, so getting a rotisserie chicken, one or two of them, is actually the best option for us right now. So this does take a little bit of time, but I wanted to just go ahead and tell you guys what I'm doing after this. So each piece of bone that I pick off, I'll even leave some of the skin and some of the meat if I don't feel like picking it off. I go ahead and I put it into my Ninja Instapot, and it's my Ninja pressure cooker and air fryer. I got that for our wedding and we use it all the time. I definitely don't use the Instapot part of it as much as I probably should, but I'm going to start doing that. I've made some soups and stuff in it. But I'm taking all of the bones, and some of the bones have skin on it still, some of it have chicken on it still, and I'm just go ahead and throwing it into that, and then all of the meat that we are going to eat for like meal prepping purposes goes in those glass containers. And so Kaysen likes to eat his with like rice and some sort of sauce on top. I will make wraps or put it with baked sweet potato or rice or in a salad. Sometimes it can be hard for me to eat leftover chicken, but it's actually really easy because the one that we get isn't super flavored. Like, it's flavored enough, but you can put whatever sauce or seasoning on it that you want and kind of make it your own. Like if we wanted to do like taco bowls or something. And so we do that. And sometimes we buy, the easy 90 seconds or 60-second rice cups or rice packets. And sometimes we make like a big batch of rice and divide it into small glass bowls with the chicken as well. It really just depends on how much time and how we're feeling that weekend. Okay, so we are getting down to the end of it, and I'm just finishing it off, and I'm putting the breastbone and everything into the Instapot, and then I'm going to start cleaning up a little bit, getting my area clean, because I did have a lot of things on my countertops, and we have a lot of counter space, but it was very crowded for some reason this day. So I try to clean as I go anyway, and wash my hands and things like that to make it easier on me during my next step. So now I am just putting the containers away into the refrigerator for the week, and I am moving on to my next step. So here I just washed the carrots and I'm going to start chopping them up into chunks along with the onion and the garlic. And in a few seconds you will see that I realized that you couldn't really see what I was doing, so I had to fix the camera, and so I lowered the camera. So I didn't really follow a recipe. The recipe on the website for the Presto Precise Digital Pressure Canner just had you throwing in a chicken into water and boiling it. There was no seasonings or anything. So I was just kind of winging it on this, and it actually turned out really well. I did taste it once it got done cooking and everything before I put it into the refrigerator, as you'll see later. So I loosely followed like a seasoning or like a flavor recipe, but I did follow the recipe that the digital precise Presto canner called for, except I used my Instapot instead of doing it on my stovetop. It was a lot easier. But here you see me looking for different scraps that I had put in the freezer, like some onion peels and things like that. And so I went ahead and I just threw those in there with it. It adds good color and good flavor. It actually turned out really beautiful and it tasted great. I just had to add some salt later on. And then I decided to add more garlic, and it was the perfect amount of garlic. Um, Next time I actually might put in a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, here you see me bringing in some frozen celery that I had put in the freezer a few months ago. We had it in our refrigerator for too long, and so I chopped it up and put the good pieces into a freezer bag and threw them in the freezer. I am listening to the Big Bang Theory in the back of this, so that's what you see in the background. Okay, now you just see me putting the lid on my Ninja Instant Pot, and I have it set to 4 hours. I'm making sure the vent is closed, and I just let it go from there. It has to build up pressure and everything first. Okay, so here I am going to prep some egg breakfast bites. So I'm using up some eggs that I had in my refrigerator. We don't have chickens. We live in a neighborhood. I wanted to get chickens this year, but it just wasn't feasible with how much traveling we are going to be doing this year. We already have one dog to worry about. We don't want to have to worry about any other animals like that. We also breed reptiles, so we have a lot of different reptiles we have to think about whenever we travel as well, and they're pretty low maintenance, but we didn't want to get chickens this year. When we get our land and build our next house, hopefully we'll be able to get some chickens and maybe even some goats over time. But here I'm just adding, you can just add as many eggs as you want. I think I added 6 or 7 of them. These eggs the shells were very hard, so it took me a second to get them all cracked. And then I think I decided to add a few more. I also added some spinach, carrots, pesto, salt, pepper, paprika, turmeric, and I believe that is it, and they actually taste very good. So I whisked them up and I put them into my silicone muffin tin things, but they're silicone, they're not tin, but silicone muffin holders. And then I bake them in the oven on 350 for like 15 minutes or until they're done all the way through. And they're super easy, healthy, high protein, low carb breakfast. And I'm trying to stay away from bread right now for Lent and health reasons. I did put a lot of tomatoes in there. I had some little tomatoes that I needed to use up, some little cherry tomatoes that I needed to use up in the refrigerator. So I quartered them and put them in the mix, and then whatever I had left over, I actually put on top at the very end before I put them in the oven. So once again, I had to move my phone to a better location to record this part of the video. These are those silicone muffin liners. Liners, that's the word I was looking for. I got these at our local market that has a bunch of different things thrifted. I've used them 3 or 4 times now, and I love them. Actually, I love them more than using a regular muffin tin. Okay, so my egg bite muffins are going into the oven. And does anybody else forget to take their cast iron skillet out of the oven like I do? Because I seem to forget a lot. But I do like leaving it in there. Sometimes I let it get super hot while we're waiting on it to preheat, and sometimes I don't. Okay, now I am getting ready to make the Fab 4 freezer fudge. This is Kelly LeVeque's freezer fudge. It's her Body Love recipe book. And I have a bunch of coconut oil that I bought on Amazon that I need to use up, and I bought it to make sugar scrubs at the holidays. But I mean, it's culinary use coconut oil, um, and so it calls for like a cup of this for these freezer fudge bites. And these freezer fudge bites are actually pretty good. I would do a few things different next time and play around with it. This time I followed the recipe to a T, and I think that it will actually be better if I do something a little different. Two recipes that I've used and kind of combine them. So I'm just measuring out my coconut oil here. And then I will be measuring out my cocoa powder, which is unsweetened, pure cocoa powder from the Dominican Republic. My mom and my dad brought this home for me last year whenever they went to the Dominican, and it is extremely strong. As you can see here, my measuring cup broke. I really need to invest in some high quality measuring cups that aren't metal. I also bought stevia, liquid stevia, to use in this recipe. And for me, I think that I actually ended up putting too much stevia. I think it would have been good without it and maybe a little bit more almond butter. The almond butter that I use is from Costco, and it has two ingredients. It's roasted almonds and salt, and that is it. And it is so good. I put it in my smoothies. I put it in this. I put it in all kinds of stuff. I eat it on, bananas, and see, add a little bit of coconut oil left on my hands. I'm just rubbing it in because coconut oil is the best. So I need to melt the coconut oil, and so I just put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, check it, and then I put it back in the microwave for 30 seconds so it can melt again. So coconut oil has an extremely high burn temperature, and it does not burn easy. It is very, very, very hard to burn coconut oil. I'm just cleaning this out, not super well because I'm about to use it for my cocoa powder. I'm just going to pour the cocoa powder into it over the bowl and then mix it up. That way I don't have to dirty up another measuring cup. So here you see me opening, it's cacao. I'm sorry. It is cacao powder, and it is fantastic. I love a nice bitter chocolate, and even though this one isn't super bitter, it still has that like pure cacao, pure cocoa taste. And cacao has extremely good health benefits for you as well. Okay, here I am putting in the stevia, and it called for drops, but that didn't really have a drop. It was like more of a constant stream, and so I think I might have overdone it. So now I'm just mixing the cacao powder and the stevia and the coconut oil together. I have not added the almond butter yet. Now I will add the almond butter. And I probably could have added a lot more almond butter. It's one of my favorite things. I think it would have been better than adding all of the stevia that I added. So here you can see me mixing up that entire mixture, and doesn't that look so good? Nice and chocolatey, and you can see that almond butter melting in there as well. And I just think that that is just so beautiful, and it looks so good. Okay, so here I am using my Super Cube cookie trays, cookie freezer trays, and they are cute and purple and the perfect thing to use for these freezer fudge bites. They are the perfect size, and I'm not sure if I show you guys the final result, but I definitely will show y'all in a different video. Also, the rest of the chicken broth canning will be in a separate video as well, so stay tuned for that. So here I am just pouring the freezer fudge mixture into these different holes on the tray, and I'm filling them up. I filled up about 1.5 or maybe 1 3/4 of those trays, and I have 2 of them. And so when I'm done, I literally just pop the lids on these, and then put them in the freezer. And then I checked them a few hours later, and they were done. And me and Kason tried one, and they were a little bit bitter, which I like a good chocolate bitter. But I think that there was too much stevia in them. But I'm still gonna eat them. It'd be good to pop some like more almond butter on top of them, or a little bit of peanut butter on top, and eat as a nice snack, or maybe put like a couple bananas, almost make like a skewer with it, and dip it in peanut butter. That would be great. So here you see me putting some salt on the top before I put them in the freezer, and that was in the recipe. I wish I would have had like a nice flaky sea salt, but I don't have any. So I just use my Redmond real salt, and it worked out really great. Even Kason said that he likes the salt on the top. So here is what they look like in the trays, and yes, it was kind of a messy process, but that is okay. So here I actually pulled out some citrus cubes that I froze, almost like a citrus bomb, and I had some leftover lemons and limes and oranges, and instead of them going bad in my refrigerator or on my counter, I squeezed them and I put them into these like tablespoon cube trays, but from Super Cube as well. And then they've been in my freezer for honestly like probably 2 or 3 weeks. And so now I'm just trying to get the lid off and put them into a baggie and label that baggie. here I wanted to show you guys my Click and Grow garden. I've showed this to you before, but there are some plants that needed to come out, and so I had lettuce in there, and I went ahead and like cut it all back and then threw the pods outside in my yard. But now I'm wanting to replace them with some new pods, and so I have mint and basil, and so I'm doing one of each in my Click and Grow, and so I just popped those in. Actually, I just realized I needed to go put my domes on them, so I'm going to go do that once I get done doing this voiceover for this video. And since I was in the kitchen and my protein powders and stuff were right there by my Click and Grow, I wanted to show you. I use the LSF plant protein and her supplements, and then I use Vital Proteins collagen. So here are those egg bites. I believe they were almost done at this point. And so now I am prepping some potatoes for dinner. I believe this is, it might be the same night. If not, it was the next night. And we just had burgers, no buns, with some pickles and some oven potatoes. And I'm using my apple core to help me slice these potatoes up. And Kason is working on those hamburgers in the background. I believe this is the next night. So I have those chopped potatoes in some water soaking for a few minutes. The recipe that I looked up on Pinterest called for like 15 to 30 minutes. I didn't have that much time, so I just let them soak for a little while. And then I'm using garlic, paprika, salt, pepper to season them. And once I let them soak, I drain them, season them with some olive oil, and put them in the oven. And then those are our burgers. Thanks for watching.